Hey everybody, and welcome to Stock Abilities. I'm going to be covering the House introducing 5 new antitrust bills, and they're going to be targeting various big companies, including ones such as Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon, but any other ones that are trying to be more aggressive and monopolize in the given market. These bills include the American Choice and Innovation Online Act. Essentially, it's to help prevent them trying to manipulate the marketplace to kind of push their own products ahead of anybody else's so that they become more of a monopoly rather than giving a fair share market access to anybody that would be using the Apple storefront or Google or what have you, even Amazon and so on and so forth, in order to kind of dominate and preference themselves over anybody else. You got the Ending Platform Monopolies Act, and then essentially that's kind of similar. It's selling products in the marketplaces that they control, so they can kind of not only dominate it by pushing their own products to the front there, but this would restrict them from doing that, as well as restrict them from selling the products in their own marketplaces that they control. So it's just a monopolizing way to be more aggressive and make them more monies, and this would restrict that. Then you got the Platform Competition and Opportunity Act, and this would prevent, basically, as they refer to it, as dominant platforms from acquiring companies that are essentially competition. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not sure why this is just becoming a concern now, but members of Congress were a little bit worried about that with Zuckerberg a long while back. And then, of course, you got the Augmenting Compatibility and Competition by Enabling Service Switching Act of 2021. And it's basically making it easier to uh, quit social media and take your data with you, according to Cicilline. And then you got the Merger Filing Fee Modernization Act of 2021, and this bill would help the FTC and the department essentially raise more money for antitrust enforcement. So basically, this gives them a little bit more flexibility in regards to making it less of a liability and help more for the FTC and Department of Justice to raise funds to essentially fight back more in regards to these aggressive acquisitions and give more of a restriction for those requesting government approval for acquisitions. So essentially, this makes them more money. So that's probably pretty much a guarantee that that one will pass through for the FTC and the Department of Justice. And of course, currently they have bipartisan support. I don't know if you guys know anything about the House and the Senate, but right now, when it's just introduced into the House, that's not really far in. When we get to the Senate there, I would pay a little bit closer attention to that. Just as a reference, this source is from Engadget. We're going to hop into the next parts here. Apple Cooks says proposed EU tech rules threaten security of iPhones. He's makes some weird comments here, but you can see that he's afraid to lose some power there. He says that the security issue would be the side loading and everything else, that people would more likely use another app and or whatever, what have you, to side load different products. Side loading is basically if you want to put something on from like Android or something else or some other app that's not necessarily native to the app. It's a security issue, but the reality is that that's basically taking power away from Apple and other companies and so on and so forth. I'm sure Google, Amazon, and Facebook are a little bit worried in that regard too. Not going to go too much into detail about that. We're going to hop into the next part here. That this is just more just a battling of competition here. You can see from the analyst ratings on TradeRead, we're with Apple, Facebook likely setting bigger set on augmented reality dominance with smartwatch launch. So, I mean, there's still competition going on between these companies, but the ultimate plan for these bills is to break up said competition. Gonna hop into the next part here. And this is basically, I'm just going to show off the overall sweeps here and what it's looking like for the upcoming month. As you can see here, I'm filtering with a days to expiration range of 0 to 30 using the Trade UI platform, just to give you guys some different flow of the options here. Now, all this drama going on, Apple's kind of at a good low point and mostly bullish sweeps. You got Facebook here coming in with a $1.1 million sweep position for July 16th. So in basically less than a month, they're expecting a relatively large move, and they're putting a lot of money's conviction into that move. You got Amazon here with a relatively short sweep here, 3,500 strike. It's only 3,423, expiring on June 25th with $406,000. That's not a relatively large sweep considering that it's Amazon that's getting that sweep, but it's pretty bullish here. And you got some hedging here for deep in the money, so they're likely exercising to create a support wall for Apple here. Then you have basically Google doing very, very similar as Amazon there, with a little bit of a deep out of the money and a relatively short expiration, expiring in less than a week at this point. And the flow just stays relatively bullish. There is some bearish flow, but it's more likely a hedge. As you can see here, you got the 128.6 is when it came in, and a 130 strike, which means that it's in the money. So they're likely just closing out their positions and or exercising to create more of that support wall. And of course, you scroll down a little bit more here, and you have Amazon. Pretty much a slightly out of the money, but once again, pretty bullish sweep. Then you have a sweep here that's relatively aggressive. So that's kind of a bearish sign, but it's pushed out a little bit further. So it's seeming like they're planning on bumping Amazon up just a little bit further before dumping it some more. And then it kind of goes down through the flow like that. If you want to see more flow like this, check out the link in the description below. This is the Trade UI platform. I'm going to hop into the just basic charts here. As you can see that, all this news is kind of coming in. Apple's been kind of consolidating for a while and then did a little bit of a breakout here in the last couple of weeks. But it's still struggling sort of on the bottom line here, so we need a little bit more of a pull up here. Sweeps are indicating that it seems like 130 is kind of a nice bottom, so we might see a breakout here testing above 135 coming up into the next few weeks. Gonna hop into Google here. Google is pretty similar in regards to just a general flow up and then maybe continued breakout a little bit higher, but it's not quite like Apple here. It's a little bit on the choppy side, and we had the Fed meeting here today. That was a little bit of a dip there, but it's likely going to be bouncing back up into the near future. This is Google, and usually when these press releases come out about the antitrust and everything like that is usually a good time to get in. We could see a bit more of a tumble, but the sweeps seem to imply that we're going to see a little bit more of a boost here coming up rather than a dump, even especially with it already being down a little bit in the after hours. So checking this out for tomorrow might be a good idea. A little bit of a lag there. And then we got Facebook here. Facebook is pretty much got roughed up today, but on a monthly, pretty solid consolidation trend. Possible test of a new breakout, just a little bit higher before maybe a tumble into the near future. And then Amazon, we're hitting here near a peak, so we might be testing a new peak here to a new all-time high, rather. I think it's pretty close to an all-time high before probably a tumble into the later summer months. And that's about all I wanted to cover in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. This is the video about the 5 different trust bills here. They're generally kind of a mixed thing here. The main thing is they're trying to break up the monopolies and spread them to give other companies more of a fair chance. This is going to hurt their market share for those bigger conglomerate companies, but it's going to help the smaller tech companies and smaller companies in general to kind of get more of an edge over these ones that are already dominating, considering they're multi-billion-dollar companies. So that's about all I wanted to cover. Thank you for listening in, guys, and you have a great day.